Dr. Gary, would you tell us a bit about this instrument before we hear it?
Yes, I'm happy to, because I'm very delighted and I was proud when this instrument was installed here, which was in the new building, which opened in 2000 actually. And this organ was built by Denise Jouget and Steve Sinclair, who work in Montreal, Canada. And the reason we got them to build it is because it happened that my husband and I own a very small organ by the same builders in our condo. So they built this for us, and it's 10 stops. Looks like more, but it's called an either-or action, which makes it a more versatile arrangement of the stops. It is mechanical action, of course. And it's in this very lovely room, which was designed just for it. And all the students love to play it. And when I'm not teaching, they practice here. And we've all learned a lot about music from this organ. I think you did too.
Oh, I did, and did this morning practicing before the lesson. For those who don't know, what is either or?
Right, so you can help me explain that by if you pull out the mantra 8 and play where it goes, that's there. Right, and now for the upper keyboard you're going to pull out the mantra 8 and we see the other one disappear, and now you play it up here.
It's the same stop.
It is the same stop, and at first I thought that this was going to be confusing, but actually it's much more versatile because for a small organ like this, we can choose where we want the different stops to appear, and we didn't have to lock them down into one keyboard, which you do with a bigger organ.
So the only stop that doesn't appear on the lower manual is the Dolchand 8. It only appears up here.
Right. Right.
But if we coupled it together, it could appear.
Correct.
Here.
That's right. And it can appear in the pedal as well.
Good solo. And then in the pedal, we only have 2 stops. Is this the same mantra 8?
It is.
So that mantra 8 doubles here.
Right.
And then we have a 16th.
Right. Just play a note or two on that. Right. So it's just the right size organ for this room. Okay, let's stop a second. So we agreed that we'll stop and start and just talk about movement and so on. So I bet this is very different than when you first learned it.
Yes.
Huh? So you said 18 years ago?
Yes.
Or so. And so can you just play the beginning like you would have learned it? Just a few measures. Yeah, okay, yeah. So actually, I bet you didn't really play it that way because you still have a certain amount of movement in your body, and you probably didn't then.
Hard to get rid of it.
See, yeah, right, that's good, isn't it? It's hard to get rid of it. So musically, it was from a different approach, and what it changed then was when you went back and you played it in the more legato approach, even though your body was still moving rather well, and you weren't tight, I would say, but your fingers and your hand was more static. Your fingers were more static. Your hand was just kind of placed a little more. And so because there weren't as many releases, you didn't have a chance to make it more fluid, all right? Now, we're going to go back to the beginning. Well, I thought it sounded already very good. It's clear your musical intention, and that it's good. So we don't need to think about that. But we can now think even more about how you're making your release, and how are you doing that? I mean, that was a question.
Oh.
Yeah, so for those who are wondering, I mean, they hear it sounds good and it looks good and all that, but physically, if you were telling somebody, how do I release a note? We talked about a cat touch, and what are you actually doing?
I feel the arm begin to go in the direction of the release, and it's sort of back, and I feel a little stroking of the key with my finger.
Right,
especially in the long note where you have more time, I linger longer, and that slide is longer, and then the shorter the note, the more brisk that movement is, although the release is still careful.
Yeah, so maybe careful, but it's not exactly. I mean, careful might make you tense, but it's more precisely placed, maybe, or something. Let's start it again now that we're thinking about that. Yeah, good. Now, let's just experiment a little bit. I'm going to try to come over here, too. And maybe, of course, you sit a lot higher than I do. I'm just going to get over here. And when you have the quarter notes, maybe you could do a little bit less. So notice that when you did it before, so physically, what you might be thinking is that it's actually more like legato. Wouldn't be that fingering, but yes. So that way, if this isn't too separate, we're going to hear the other part also better. You know, it's very interesting to see your fingering here. So you're experimenting with the idea of paired fingering, which it's certainly possible that Bach did that, and many people feel would be unlikely this late. Yet, as I know you know, he was still teaching paired fingering to his children. In a key like E flat, I might not myself do it. Would be, I bet you could change that, and we'll compare them then. So what if you used a more modern fingering, and just to see what the different sound would be?
In just that spot.
Yeah, right. Good. Right. Now, you were correct in talking about how you felt it back here, and so it's a little bit like, do you ever use a a rowing machine?
have,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's a little bit like that, isn't it? In a sense. I know Harold Fogel was always talking about the release motion really comes from the elbow. And I thought, what? I don't know about that. But in a sense, that's what you said, too. You didn't quite say it, but it's what you're doing, right?
Yeah, well, yes.
In a way, see? Because it's not just a finger, right? You said it comes from back here. And how are your rockers doing up there?
Pretty well.
Good? All right, so your rockers are keeping you on the bench and your muscles are supporting you, all right? And this time we're just going to make the quarters a little closer and you're going to think more about your elbow as you do that. Let's start at the very beginning. Yeah. Now a little more closer. Yeah. Yeah, good. You'll be aware of your neck and your head. Just keep going. Stop there a second. And I thought that was looking good and sounding good. But before we go to the second section, I wanted to ask you if there were any places that bothered you as far as balance or movement went.
Yes, I always feel that in bar 31, where the pedal comes in and there's these parallel sixths in the right hand,
Yeah.
Even with the rockers, there's a lot going on, and you're holding these long notes in the left hand and then the long notes in the pedal that are lower and then the right hand up is a challenge.
Right, and so just that measure or the next one too?
Both. And
The
then
31 and 2?
When the pedal continues in 33, with all the moving notes,
Yeah.
it's almost the opposite problem. You've got the right hand and long notes and the pedal and moving notes.
Yes, and what is it that you're sensing there?
I begin to tighten in my right shoulder, actually.
For both of those
For the
places, or
sixth
just in that in the
right hand,
34,
sixth in
the 33? I mean,
Um,
do you feel your shoulders tightening at 31 also?
31,
Yeah, you do. Okay, start a measure ahead of that and let me take a look at it. Okay, so, and you're feeling it right here, right in there. Yeah, you know, part of that is because you have to sit so high, I think. I mean, that's like saying part of it is because you're you, but that's not fair. And so I think we could probably loosen you up a little right in here. So if your arm came out toward me, and so, yeah, you really know it's happening here?
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah, I don't feel I was moving in that particular way.
No, I don't think you were. But I was wondering if you were somehow feeling you were going to slip forward?
Well, now that you've mentioned it,
Yeah.
I was sort of clenching a bit here.
Well, clenching, though, may not be the... I mean, you're going to have to work the muscles. That is true. But it's hard for me to tell, and you're quite slim, and so you're naturally closer to the edge of the bench than I would be. But you're aware of your rockers there, yes. Right? Can you just rock side to side for me? Yeah, more this way. Yeah, you can put your hands up here if you want. And so this Barbara used to push me, and then she would, oh, okay, come on, she would say, yeah. And so your rockers can do all that. Now, if you're back in the center, and then you go back, so you rock back, right, and just hang on. And if you let go, you can go back further. We don't want you to fall over, of course. And then, now coming forward, you do need to hold on here, right? So you will need to work in the muscles when you're doing that.
That really does, when I move forward, that works. This has to work a little bit.
Yes, it
harder.
does.
Yes.
It's going to work. Now, or like in Feldenkrais, you can go around the face of the clock, right? So you're going to imagine you're sitting on this clock, and your noon is up here, and 6 is back there. And so if you start at noon, okay, and now you're coming around this way, yeah, make it a bigger clock. Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah, right. Now, a practical matter would be that here, where you were talking about, you use the right foot, why not use the left? And then you won't have to reach across yourself as much, maybe. Why don't we start, I'm going to stand up while you do it. Start back here. So you're going to be left. Keep going. Sorry, I only meant for the B flat, and then you get to do that. Okay. So what was I doing?
Well, I was using a lot more motion in that clock face as the music moved.
Yeah, up and down, right. So now, I don't know, did that make it harder, easier, same?
It felt a lot easier to be, while I was working, however, it felt easier.
Yeah.
And my I didn't feel like I was tightening. There was a note or two I missed because I wasn't quite used to it.
Right,
but
right,
it
right.
felt overall better, and I felt that it was a lot easier to play the pedals.
And you know, when you said about, I know I missed a note or two, but, and I'm as much for right notes as anybody, you know that. But in one's practicing, especially level 1 and 2, when we're learning the piece and we're putting it together and so on, it's not that we don't want to think about accuracy, we do, but we've got to be finding the movement of the body and of the music, because as you already suggested, they're the same. So there is movement. This doesn't go all that far down the pedal board, it doesn't come all that far up, and yet when I started pushing you around a little bit, you moved, right? And you meant that you were moving at the bench, and so it's where we meet the bench, right? So it's the rockers, and your hip joints also did different things, and your shoulder joints, which is where you felt it. So you started by saying, see, I always like to take the cue from what you say you feel. You felt tension up here, and you felt tension up here, I now suspect, because you were trying to keep from falling, not falling, but you were trying to hold something that didn't want to be held, because your body was hoping that you would be moving it around like this. You were holding it, but you were trying with your limbs to play all this complicated stuff, and therefore you're going to feel tension to do it. Now you're going to do that same thing without me, and it might not be the same way, but the movement might be a different way.
So if I didn't know how to start moving,
Yeah.
I like the clock face because it gives us, I
Yeah.
have a 2.
Here's your
4.
options. Right.
However, the music goes up,
Goes
and
up
then
and down.
down.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
It's not going to be exactly a clock, but it's going to be the clock face, and any kind of rocking exercise is going to give your body the input on options. And then the music will direct, your body will just say, oh, yeah, I could go this way. Or what I notice when I'm practicing is that I don't try to have a presupposition, well, this is going up, I'm probably going to have to go up. Because maybe, in fact, I'm going to go back this way. So I just can try it. It's almost like you say to yourself, well, what could it be? Yeah, and you just try it. And you don't care if it's not right, because you could do it again. So I'm going to ask you how it felt, but it looked really good, and it sounded better. Rhythmically, it sounded better, and I heard dissonance resolving better and all kinds of things, and I saw rhythm in your body. Now, how was it?
I would not have said that, although I don't disagree with it. I felt more in control overall.
Isn't that funny?
I felt that my body was with the music, and technically, I was not worried anymore.
Yeah. Right, and you see, I think it's often the opposite is the reason we don't move. We're looking for control, right? I've got control, we're saying. I'm holding it. I've got it, I'm not going to let it get away, and if I move, I'll lose it. And we may not consciously think that even, but I think often people who sit quite still out of conviction, not just out of habit, is because they think they'll lose it if they move. And see, you really have said it's the opposite. And I think that it is. Now, if a person watching this might say, well, yes, but he really knows this piece, which of course you do, and I don't think I can do that. Well, sure, anybody can do that. They maybe can't do it that well to start with, but how will they ever learn to do it? Are any of us just going to say that where we are now is what we're stuck with? I don't think so. Yeah. We hope not. I've had students who were maybe 22 or 3, and I would say, well, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Oh, I've never done that. I think it's too late for me to do that. And I think, what? How could this be that it's too late? Now, the whole second fugue has no pedal, so that presents its own problems. We think it'll be easier, but that's not always true. Right? And also now you're going to play on the upper keyboard.
Yes. So I'm going to use this.
Yeah, if you can put your feet like that.
Here, but because I'm going to the upper keyboard, I'd rather...
Okay, or you could put one back and one forward. There's also, so your point raised is quite good. And so you want to do something with your feet if possible. On some organs, one can't find a way to do it, and then you just have to work harder in the leg muscles. But that or both feet forward is going to be good. Okay, so it sounds good. I'm sure also you didn't learn it that way to start with.
I don't remember how
You
I
don't even remember.
Yes.
Yeah, don't turn back. So where were you just? You were just right there in there. And what I was starting to think is that your fast note values maybe is a little too much finger and not enough cat touch. And so what I'm thinking is, boy, you play higher than I remember you playing. Have you gotten taller? You've gotten taller since I last saw you. All right, and so you're going. Yeah, okay. So probably when you first learned it, you probably played it, the eighth note's more legato. So you probably played. Right? And so now you're thinking about how you want to make it more clear, and so maybe you're getting into this. Put your hand right here. So, you didn't do that much, but so I propose that in fact, what you want to look for is a little closer to the way you probably learned it before. So say that I said to somebody, first play this legato, and we'll go through this in a second. And then they would say, okay, I'll do this. Right? So we play it legato. And then I say, now, play it almost legato, but put some of this motion, and you're already going to feel this a little bit back here, and your balance is going to be good. My balance won't be good up here, but, and it would be, put your hand here. So instead of, so you can see there is actually a cat, and then, but it's not really as much. So now I'm moving it back here a little more. So put your hand here, and so it's not, put it, see, it's actually back there. So then you could get, to play this, you could just move. And so you're a little concerned there. And so feel this. So you're a little bit this. And so you be. So that's actually my let it go back here further. So we're going to start, if it's easier, we maybe start in this measure. And we're thinking now about the 3 measures, and maybe not this one yet. So first, let's play it legato, with a fast notes legato. Right? Okay. Now, just like that, only not. And now you're going to be, because see, you went back to your old, this way. And so now, it's helpful. I was working with somebody earlier this week who came for several hours of lesson, and every hour or so we stopped and we went through the review. We went through, okay, where's my head on the top of the spine? Where are my shoulder joints? Where's my rockers? And because he wanted to just keep playing, right? And that's the way we all are when we're practicing. But even now, I do this a lot at home, and I'll stop and, okay, I've stopped thinking properly. I need to refresh my movement sense. So even he didn't know where his shoulder joints were at all, and so we had to find them. And so you could even stretch this way, and you could say, yeah, they're in there. They're in there. You could hug the tree, like Tom would say. So you're hugging the tree, and then you're rocking around in some way. And then, now we're going to play it like legato, but not. Clearer. Okay. Let's not put that measure yet, because that's a harder measure. Let's just do that again. That was good. And I might push you around a little bit. Yeah. Now without me pushing you. Okay, now this measure. So let's just do this measure, the one that keeps stopping at. So this is suddenly a more complex measure musically anyway, right? Because it has chord changes, and so it means it has hand changes, and it means it has all kind of body change. Play the left hand only. Yeah, I can't tell quite what you're doing there. Let's see. So when you come at it from here, you probably did, and so you're probably, and then I don't know what you did. Yeah.
5, I believe.
Yeah, okay. Okay, feel it? With your left hand this time. So. These are all down. Whatever finger. There's a. Now your left hand does it. Good. Again. Same. Now, the right hand only. And wasn't maybe starting in there. Once again, I want to look at your fingering again. Yeah, let's see. So you're starting 4-2 up here? Well, if you came from here, where would you? Or your three. Yeah. So that's a very awkward place, isn't it?
Yes.
And I noticed that you probably have a fingering that you learned before.
Yes, I've gotten rid of it. And
Right, and so you don't know.
not 100% satisfied
Right.
yet.
Yeah, I would change it. Let's see. I think the key is that you want to be on 4 here, and that you want to do this. So I'm using, do you have your pencil there? I'll get mine. Wait a minute, I got it. Okay. So sometimes we think it's a fingering problem. It's a fingering problem, but it's a movement problem. It's that the fingering is keeping us from doing the movement that we really want to do. And then if we can find if we find the movement we want, we can make a fingering that'll do it. So it's not just this is a technique thing. It's not necessarily. And so if I'm saying that possibly, at least for me, the key would be 4. Add 5 with a 2, 1, and it's a 1 again. And I don't like trilling with 5-4. Were you trilling with 5-4?
No,
Oh,
good.
good. 4-3, good. Yeah, or whatever. So put your hand on my hand. So. And so I made it like this. And we're going to get you to try it. Try to feel it. So what I want to do is to move like this, and you're doing or something. I don't know exactly, but could you just try it just from there?
So what I felt, for those who can't see it
Yeah.
close, is when you were mimicking what I did, there was a fairly significant motion on every note.
Yeah.
And you're sort of passing through with a larger,
I am.
gentle motion.
And I'm doing that by using the same finger consecutively sometimes, but you can't do that unless you're loose. All right, so do it slow. Yeah, and once again. Yeah, so. Right, and then so on. If I'm going to go. You're still doing. So I'm making the main movement the top voice.
So we're replacing multiple small movements with one
Correct.
larger gesture.
Yep.
So that's where the word gesture comes in.
Maybe.
That
yes.
is a larger gesture. It's not just at the end of the piece where we throw
No,
hands in
that's
the air.
right.
The gesture
This is a figural gesture of some kind. All right. I said, what is it? 4, 3, 3. Maybe it's 1. 1, 2, 2. Yeah. Yeah.
that feels very different.
Yeah, it does. Try it again. Yeah, if you can go back to that fingering. I changed your front fingering again, but you don't need to do that one. But just do the ones that are there. Can you add the left hand to that? Yeah. Yes, and here at the last, where the left hand is just going to go. It's not going to go. So it's just an arpeggio. So it's good. Try that. 2 hands again. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Now, we need to have time for the last part. So, but could we maybe jump over to Where's a good place to start in this area before that? If such a place exists.
Yeah.
Where will it be?
Oh, maybe even
Here? Yeah.
I'll break the tie.
Sure.
Sorry, not here.
There. Here we go. Stop. Yeah. All right. Now, it seems to me that the pedal doesn't really have any problems here. Is that what, am I right?
I don't feel problem in the pedal.
Yeah. So it's really, if anything, we can fix a little easier some things in the hands. Do you think you know what they might be? What might still be needing a little movement attention?
The sweeping 16th note.
Yes. You got it.
How did I know?
How did you know? So it's the combination of clarity in the small note values and yet keeping the gesture in the bigger thing. So the simplest way would be to think here, and then it gets more complicated down here. So here, you put your hand here, so you're a little bit like, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but is a little freer. And
Seems to have more line
Yep.
in it.
And I propose that the line, I heard it too, that we can't make that happen by our intellectual ability. We have to make it happen by our physical thing. We can think, you know, it'd be nice to get louder as we go here, and to kind of start maybe a little bit under, and then I'm making a center here, and so on. I'm going to hand it off to this hand. This is going to do the same thing. But actually, we get closer to that with legato, which is why recently I've gone back to saying to people, let's try it legato first. Right? So you're going to put hand on each hand now, and so I would say I'll do it legato first. Now I'll do it not legato, but I'm going to keep that shape. And there's something of what I call a follow-through in that. So it didn't go stop, right? And I'm not going any further. Why do I keep moving? Well, now you're going to try that.
You want me to try it just the way you did it there?
Yeah. Yeah. So that sounded different to me.
It felt good.
And I mean, so we're using these different verbs. We're saying it sounded better, and we're saying you can say it felt better, and like I say, it looked better, and all of those things are really talking about the same thing, because it sounded better because you moved differently.
And does this follow through come from the inner game of tennis, where he talks about?
Yeah, I think, in a way, I mean, I often use that as an illustration that I don't play tennis, but if I were hitting, I'm left-handed, if I were hitting it with the racket and the ball meets the racket, I don't stop, right? I can't, probably. It would still, the ball is over there somewhere by now, and I'm running around like that, or golf, or any sport like that, where you're hitting something. And in this case, we can follow through. The body wants to. Try it again. Right. Now, a modification of that is, say, I may not want to take the time to come clear off the keyboard, but I can still have been doing it. How would that be? Yeah? Yeah, that one you almost have to, but... Right. And in that particular passage, one feels that they're giving it from this hand to the other hand, and then now this time we're going to go on, and we're going to keep up the same idea. Okay. Okay. What about this part of the subject that goes? So we have our and then we have our yabba. How this is a figure that doesn't just go in one direction. What does it do?
It goes in multiple.
Right. And so, and what is your fingering on that one?
3, 4, 3, 5, 2.
That's the hardest fingering. Why? Or why would I say that? And you did it fine.
Well, 3 and 4 connected.
Yeah.
And 10 so.
And you're only playing one note. So what would be an easier, maybe easier fingering?
2, 4, or.
Try that. Or, and you were going to say or, but.
2, you could do not adjacent fingers, such as.
Oh, then that's not a good idea, probably, but 1, maybe.
1, 2, 1, 3.
You could do, what if you played it legato? What would you do? Back up a few notes. Yeah, right, so. I have the best control not with 3, 4, 5, for the reason you stated, because, and also because 5 is so much shorter than 4. So because you could do any finger you wanted to. There. But see, that's the kind of thing that none of us think of, would tend to think of as just that, well, I've got 3 here and I've got all these fingers, and so we don't think about, would it be easier and feel even more comfortable to do another fingering?
Right.
And we are allowed to put the thumb on it, the E flat too, if you want to. We don't have to, but we can. Right. Yeah. But your point was good, that it goes in a variety of directions. So what is the right hand going to do here?
It's holding.
Yes, holding one, and so it's kind of rotating, right? All right, and of course, well, you're right to check out the big motion, and teach that to your hand, the big motion. Yeah, and then make it less, because it's going to... Right, and don't try to play too articulately. Right, see, it's cat-like. It's more cat. Right. See, I'm going to play it with my left hand, but that's not over here. But I'm still articulate, but I don't have, and I'm not legato. So musically speaking, we have the three notes. We really have ya, ba, ti, da, ti, dum, ba, ba, ba. So we could hear the fourth note as having a little extra push. What would that be like? Ya, ba, di, ba, 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 ya, ba, di, ba, ba, ya, ba, di, ba, ba. Yeah. So, Bach is a genius, right?
Yes.
And so even in just 4 little 16th notes, he's got the 3 that rock back and forth, ya-wa-dee, and you just showed how that works, ya-wa-dee. The next one is really almost like it's going to the next.
Right, because this could be perceived
As a mordant. You bet it could. Yeah. And then you've got a dominant tonic type thing. And so it's the kind of thing that we never ever used to think about. Now, we're going to jump over to another place with bunches of 16th notes. We're going to leave the pedal out for the moment, and we're going to start right on that. Right. And so here you have a combination of those two types of things. The one that goes, it doesn't just go in one direction, but it comes around and it goes back down, and then it turns around and has a little more, and then it comes around again. So let's look at that again. Right. And see, it's like you're the conductor of these two different instruments, and they're doing very different things, and of course that's the fun of, and the hard part of playing this kind of music. But to be aware, so that comes again to the Zen idea and the awareness of movement that might be different in each hand. One more time on that. Right. Now, I'm just going to suggest that maybe when you played it, your hand was maybe a little low here. I don't know if it was or not, but let's just see. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think it was, Nathan?
Yes. It certainly felt, it was in a way less work, although I was still doing.
Yeah, it is less work. So it's hard. I can't really demonstrate that because I'm up so high here. But it looked like you did. So you were kind of here, and so it's easy to play higher when I'm sitting this high. But so if you were almost dropped here, so let's just look at that one more time. Yeah, keep going, just the hands. Right, now this scale, how can that feel more comfortable? Just try and see, you don't know.
Maybe starting with a different finger.
Maybe.
Then I can.
So you're starting it with, let me see, well, let's see.
Can start it with 3 or 4.
Well, you could start it with 5, but then you're going to have to get in the keys a little more, like this. Right. And now here's another physical question is, what part of the finger are you wanting to play on?
Well, in order to stay on the softest, sort of the pad part here, and keep that fingering, I had to get this out further.
That's good.
So we really do, it's better to be able to play on this pad here, and then when we release the note, there's somewhere to go.
Exactly.
If you start up here, then it's only the nail.
And I asked you that because I thought that in some of these passages, and it's easy to do in 3 flats, that you were getting up a little high, so a little too curved, possibly, for best use of your arm. Think about that and play that And so, is it this where we were?
There.
Yeah. Right. Now, an experiment that we often don't think of doing. Take the stop off. Oh, it's up here. Oh, 5 minutes? Okay. Just play up here with no stops on and just thinking about where your finger is contacting it. Oh, no, it is down here. Wait a minute. Take that off. Just thinking about where your fingers are contacting. You can still hear it, but you're playing it differently. You know you're playing it differently. And you put it on. Do it. Yeah, play it like that. Yeah. See? So we're always forgetting to do that. I do too. Forget to hear it inside while playing and not be listening to the notes. And you hear your fingers, right? You feel your fingers. And now we're going to do the end. And so maybe we start here, and we're going to do pedal and everything to the end. Shoulder joints. Yeah, it's good. Now, the one thing we're going to do right now to finish is we're going to think about how in the pedal, in this last entry and at the very end, we can sense in our body this extension from the legs and from the feet where they are, and that it's happening in the hip joints. It's almost like we were going to stand up to play this ending. And so you're going to take your awareness down to your hip joint more, and to when you push the pedal notes down, that you get a reflex off of that that is lengthening you. Okay? Keep going. This one, yum, you're standing up. You're standing up, and you're still moving. Yeah. So see, this reflex on out of your left toe is a really great feeling, don't you think?
Very tall.
Yes. So I know we have to wind this up, and so we learned a lot of things about how Bach can be played with thinking about movement and not as much about sound, and finding fingerings that help us move better.
Yes.
Right?
And very freeing.
Yes.
From my perspective,
Good.
I feel much more free.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Robert, very much.
Thank you so much. Before we conclude our time today, is there anything else you would like to add to this discussion?
Yes, I think that if a person were watching all this or even a part of it and they think, okay, what one thing could I start with? What could I try by myself? I found this Zen that I think is very helpful, and I'll read it. It's, when hungry, eat your rice. When tired, close your eyes. Fools may laugh at me, but wise men will know what I mean. And I propose that that means I have to know if I'm hungry. I have to know if I'm tired. I have to know what I'm feeling in my, and then I have to do what it takes. So it says, fools may laugh at me. it just means, what are we talking about eating rice for? Why are we talking about going to sleep and closing your eyes? It means, are we really there? And a person could ask himself that at any time during the day. What do I feel? What is happening? And then what should I do? So that's a beginning concept, I think.
It's a wonderful place to conclude our time. I want to thank you for this excellent interview and these thoughtful insights, and for continuing to learn after all of these years of teaching. Thank you,
Good.
Dr. Gary.
You are most welcome.